Anyways, so before I get to kind of the bulk of tonight's presentation, I wanted to do like a quick market update and a couple thoughts on what's been going on here. So I pulled these all off of Redfin, and I just looked at Riverside. Okay, I couldn't look at. I think this is the bigger Riverside metro area, so I think it includes San Bernardino. Since there wasn't one for San Bernardino, so I'm assuming that it does. So real quick, I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on this, but there's some interesting numbers that I saw in here. So new listings are pretty much the same as they were last year. So at the moment, they are ticking up a little bit, but kind of ticking up as much as they did last year. You kind of see that green line following that. That is not year over year. That's just gross numbers. Okay. So they're following along the same path, which, this time of the year we usually see an uptick in listings anyways, so nothing really super surprising there. Okay. What will be seen is if we follow the same exact path as the last couple of years, or we look a little bit better. Okay. Pending sales, kind of the same story. We're a little bit lower than last year, but we're kind of following the same trajectory. So some of this is going to be, more of the same of what we've seen last year. I know a lot of us are hoping that, this year is going to kind of take off, and we saw that little bump from excitement in the markets and whatnot from Trump taking office. But right at the moment, some of this stuff looks a little bit more the same, like I said. So same thing with homes sold, kind of following that same line. I know we'd all wish that number to be going up, but it's kind of trending where it was last year and the last 2 years, really. Median days to close. So this is one of the ones that I thought was interesting. They're closing faster. I would imagine, my guess, is that this really isn't all that big of a deal, and it's more that the escrow companies and funding and lenders and all that, they don't got a ton of volume. So there's not as much going through the escrow and lending companies, and they're getting stuff done faster. That's my guess. Okay? But I thought it was interesting. And then median days on market is actually, so it's lower than 23. It's still higher than 24. And it is trending down a little bit at the moment. So hopefully we'd like to see that line continuing down, but it looks like it might follow the same kind of path there. Okay, so, but that's always good. Again, this is kind of seasonality. You can see some of the seasonality in here. This time of the year, again, we always see an uptick in listings and we see an uptick in sales. Okay, and then new listings, new listing median price. So price is up as far as the listing, the median list price per square foot. Keep that number in mind because it's some of the way that this looks in the next couple of slides is going to be interesting. So from even last year, so people are listing higher. $10 a square foot doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking, 2,000, 4,000 square foot houses, it's a decent jump. This guy is the percent of active listings with price drops. Okay, so it's almost like the inverse of that. So I don't know if you guys are keeping an eye on your market. If you're not, you should, especially if you're flipping. But that number doesn't excite me, especially about ready to list a flip up in Lake Arrowhead at the higher end of the market. So not super excited about that one. We haven't seen that. That's kind of like a straight up line. But I don't think it's any surprise. Everybody's shocked by that number, or shocked by the amount of price drops. I'm sure in my market, I'm seeing them all over the place, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 price drops. I don't know if I showed some of the data left from last week in Orange County. If I pulled up Orange County's charts right now, you're probably not seeing that. Orange County is still very, very hot. Well, maybe not hot is the right word, but it's still selling, and they're still selling quickly. I don't know I don't have all that data in front of me. I just wanted to look at Riverside here. But the other one here, weeks of supply, is going down, and also active listings is going down. So you kind of got like a double-edged sword here where, I don't know if that's the right analogy, where we have price drops, but they're listing higher, listing a little bit higher, we have price drops, and then supply is going down and active listings are going down. So that should keep things, in my opinion, that should keep things somewhat the way that they're at right now, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of like massive variations here. But that number, the weeks of supply for us, is good. You don't want to see weeks of supply creeping up. That means that stuff's sitting. Okay, so kind of a mixed bag here of not great, but not terrible either. So again, kind of looking through this first 2 months of the year, I think we're going to see kind of what we saw this past year for 2024, and it's not going to really be that much different. Yes, Mr. Goodwin.
So would it be fair to kind of summarize it as the listing agents basically are throwing stuff up on the wall and seeing what sticks?
Could be.
And they are reacting quickly because they don't want the properties to sit very long, so they will make the deals happen.
Yeah, to summarize kind of what you said for the camera. So would it be fair to assume that that maybe it's not the agents so much, but agents and the sellers are maybe still throwing stuff on the market a little high, maybe a lot high, and hoping that it sells, and then reality kicks in and you're seeing those price drops. And yeah, especially in some of the tertiary markets like Arrowhead and stuff like that, where people had waited to sell these houses and now they're just trying to get rid of them. The failed Airbnbs, that kind of stuff, where they have to sell at a certain price to make money, and now they're realizing that they might lose some to get out of some of these properties. Yeah, it's definitely a mix. And I think, yeah, well, you're right, what you said, that maybe they're realizing it a little quicker here. Like, you put it on the market, you don't get showings that first weekend or the weekend after. You're too high. If you drop the price 10 to 20 grand and you still don't get showings, you were definitely too high, and you probably still are too high.
Yep.
Brandon.
Well, what I'm seeing too is...
hang on a second. Let me get you guys a mic, because I want to make sure that we're getting some of this for the recording. Thank you.
Yeah, but what I'm seeing too is if you come in and a house is, pretty much ready to move in, and you list it on the lower end instead of the higher end, you're getting a lot more eyeballs on it.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, that house, even in this market, is going to go above listing because you're going to have multiple offers. I found that with my last 3 listings.
Good. And you're that's more of like a normal market, where you're going to do that. So ideally, that's what you want, right? You don't want to list it high and then have to, drop it. That's the worst.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that in the rental market too, where I've listed stuff like going, it'd be nice to get this, and then I'm dropping it at $150 within 3 weeks. And I'm going, that doesn't look great. So
I think a lot of agents catch on to that too when they go, okay, this is listed on the higher end. I can guarantee you if we wait in a couple of weeks, they're going to drop the price.
Yeah. All right, Ray?
So with Airbnbs, are you seeing the amount of demand for them going down, causing people to sell?
I have seen it in my market, but when I say my market, I mean all of Riverside's my market.
Well,
but
varies from market
when
to
I
market,
talk
of course.
about, I don't know what Airbnb is doing in Moreno Valley or Riverside. I haven't looked at those numbers, okay? But I can tell you, and I haven't really looked at the numbers specifically pertaining to that in Arrowhead and Crestline and all that stuff. But I can tell you that I feel like I see them on the market a lot. Like every new listing is something like there's so many for rent housing, for rent, long-term rents that are fully furnished. People trying to rent them, or they're trying to sell them and they're like, you can have the furniture, but nobody wants the furniture. They want their furniture in there, So, at least in my market, absolutely that Airbnb is, or whatever, short-term rentals in general aren't doing that great, or they're not doing well enough that they're worth hanging on to, at least to the people that probably over leveraged to buy them in the first place. So, if you bought a Airbnb up in the mountains of Lake Arrowhead, and the only way that property penciled was to Airbnb it 2 years ago, you're probably in trouble at the moment. So, all right, one other thought, question, and then I'm moving on. That's it? Okay, we'll move on. All right. Aside from the market data, I just wanted to point out that For those of you that are brand new at this, or you've only been in this a couple years, or maybe not just investing, but you're maybe just looking at world events and current events and stuff like that for the first time in a long time. I am, I'm not some old sage up here. I'm not a, brand new right out of high school either, but I can tell you that when it comes to investing and stuff like this, if you're doing, you really should be doing this for the long term. Okay, if you're just doing this as a flip, or just flipping stuff short term, I'm being a lot more careful with my numbers on flips. Doesn't mean I'm not doing it, but I'm being extra cautious. When you're doing this for like the long term and you're buying rentals over a period of time, like if you're talking 30 years out, what's happening in the next few years isn't going to change your long-term goals all that much. Okay, so if you buy it right or you buy a good deal now, don't walk away from a good deal just because you think you're listening to something that's that the world's going to collapse tomorrow. It very well could, but it likely won't. Okay, we do have a bit of an anomaly in the White House with Trump at the moment, and what is going on. Whether you agree with his policies or don't agree with his policies, I'm not here to debate that. I'm just saying that it is a wrench in what would sometimes be a little bit more easy card to read, okay? But we got to deal the hand that we're dealt, okay? We got to play by the rules that we have, all right? So, like I said, just do the best you can. Don't get sucked into the bubble of, start buying nothing because you think it's all going to crash tomorrow. Okay, but at the same time, I wouldn't be making a bunch of huge gambles that it's all going to skyrocket. Whether you love Trump and you think everything's going to work out and it's going to skyrocket, I might temper that down a little bit. If you hate the guy and you think it's all going to crash, I would temper that as well. Okay, so try and find something that works in the middle of all that and is going to be a good play for the long term. And again, just on your flips and your short term stuff, make sure you're solid. Okay, and you leave yourself plenty of room, because if you're, it's only going to work if you nail it in 3 months and you're out and you sell it for the tippy top of the market, you might have a bad time. Okay? All right. Let's move on a little bit to some lessons learned. Is this a question? I kind of gave everybody I gave everyone that chance already, Evan. I'm going to move on. I got a lot to talk about tonight. Okay? You get the mic next week. All right, those of you that don't know me, my name's Rich. This presentation is kind of a mix of things I've learned in rehabs and kind of my assume nothing presentation, if you guys have seen that in the past. Okay? My background a little bit. I have been flipping and wholesaling since 2017. I'm nearing the 200 deal mark of all of those flipping, wholesaling, lending, buy and holds, Airbnbs, all of it. So I've been a housing provider since 2020 when I decided to try and stop flipping as much and start holding on to them long term. Okay, I'm up to about 19 doors. Andy's clapping for me. I finally saw the light. It took Mick Blackwell and a bunch of other people beating me over the head for a couple years before I figured it out. Doesn't mean I'm not flipping still. Okay, I'm just trying to hang on to them if I can. One of the biggest things that I took away from the week I got to spend with Peter Fortunato last year was he would have been. I asked him what, not a really regret, but like what would he have done differently if he could do a lot of it over again. And without even hesitation, he said he would have bought more that his tenants could have paid for. So even if he didn't cash flow, he didn't need the cash flow on it. Just if he could have used somebody else's money, very little down, and the tenants could pay for it and could afford the house, basically, he would have done a lot more. And Pete's done a ton. So I am trying to channel my inner Pete at all times with those thoughts. So I purchased IREC in 2021, and after going to some hotels and restaurants and all that, I said, enough of that, we're just going to buy our own place, and founded this place in 2023, which eventually became the Fire Center. So, and then obviously I like to travel. That is my 4 working on her 5th month daughter in the middle there that you guys have all seen walking around. Well, not walking around yet, but somebody's walking around with her. And then obviously like to travel, and we got cats and all that kind of stuff. Once upon a time, I used to bowl quite a bit, but that's been kind of on the back burner a little bit. So, but someday, that's my goal when I retire. I'm going back to bowling and golf. What?
When you retire and drop down to a 12-point ball because you can't throw them anymore.
Hopefully that won't ever happen. But all right. Current projects wise, we finally sold all the 7 mobile homes in one park in Paris. So those are all gone. Thank you, whatever you believe in. 2 mobile homes in San Bernardino. I'm currently flipping. I'm in escrow for one. I'm almost about to list. I'm in escrow to purchase one. I'm about to put the second one on the market here. It's done. I walked it. It's almost done. I've walked it today. And then I have one flip in Arrowhead that we finally got plans approved for after 6 months to get a wall the size of this banner that had burned lightly, just to replace this wall. The 6 months of permits. Okay, finally got that approved and done. So that's pretty much done. Now we are. I didn't even put this in the presentation, but you guys are going to get a little nugget here. If you ever have power shut off by a fire, or you are building a new house and you put a new meter in, do not wait until it's done to call Edison to connect it to the pole. Okay? They have 14 days to respond to you. Just to respond. Not actually get out and do the work. Just to say, oh yeah, we got your request. So I haven't hit that 14-day mark. So we are doing nothing to this house at the moment. So you learn something new on everything. All right, so and then rentals wise, I am in the middle of rehabbing one rental. I got 4 vacancies, and then this place never ends. We just got that new kitchen I was talking about, and then we're gonna do some we got some sound and rearranging all that stuff back there coming here. So and apparently we're gonna paint the bathroom. We'll see. What color?
Yeah.
We got a color? Brown?
Who likes all the stuff that Rich has done for the club?
Oh, thanks, David. Appreciate it. So, appreciate that. All right, so a couple flips and pictures. Just real quick, that is what used to be my Airbnb up in Crestline. It started off like the one in the top left there, and then morphed into some of these other pictures. So, speaking of when I said, we were talking about Airbnbs earlier, when I bought that property, I made sure it could pencil multiple ways. Okay, so that if it didn't work out as an Airbnb, I could still put in long-term renters or midterm or something like that. Okay, and at the worst case, I could sell it. Okay, I put 20% down as the only property I've ever done that on. So I had decent equity that even if I couldn't rent it out and cover the thing right now, I could probably sell it still and at least get my money back. So again, the goal usually is to not lose money. But this one, I was making a good amount of money on Airbnb. It was just way too management intensive for me. The management I had in place didn't really work out. So went to long term, rented it out I ended up cash flowing $200-300 a month. And I heard from my tenant 3 times in 2 years, and they just moved out. So at the moment, it's for rent or master lease or possibly even a wrap if you want to talk to me about it afterwards. Okay. That's another one that we did up in Crestline. A lot of these are from Crestline. This house was fun. We ended up kind of redoing the floor print of it for some bedrooms, and that actually did pretty well on that one. So, and then this guy, I'm going to talk about some of these later. So if I'm blowing through these, that's why. This was again, and this is actually in Cedar Pines Park on the other side of Crestline, and this is one of the examples of we didn't have to do a ton to it. You could save a lot. So again, I'm going to get into that. This guy was on the left was in Rim Forest. That is actually what's the house that's on the picture of the Crestline Real Estate Club. It's actually not a Crestline house. I'm sorry, you caught me. And then on the right there is a little shack out in the desert that we did years ago. And then another one in Crestline. That was my primary until about 8 months ago. Had a unit in the basement and everything, so we redid that and put it back together. And yeah, and then these are pictures of the 7 mobile homes that we did in Paris, just some random ones of what they started like and then what they ended like there on the bottom. So, and then just because the bathrooms are always kind of hard to take pictures of, the angles and whatnot are a little bit harder to get, and so you get an idea of a couple there, but they don't really tell the whole story there. And that, who knows what that is?
This place.
That is the before picture of the day we moved in to this place. So, not my like most highest end flip, but per square foot, this place cost a fortune. So, but we repainted everything, insulated, ground down the floor as best as we could. So we've definitely done a lot to this place, and it's always, like I said, ongoing. So, all right. So before I get to that, a couple reasons I wanted to do this presentation. A lot of you have been doing your first flips, or you're about to do your first flips, and you guys have been doing great at it. I would like to share some of the things that I've learned that have cost me a lot of money to learn these lessons. Okay, some of them have been, a $500 oops. Some of them have been a $30,000 mother. So, you may agree, not agree with some of these things, and everyone is, welcome to their own opinions and their own, ideas of how rehabs are supposed to happen, what you do, what you're not to do. But this is what I've learned, okay? And I wanted to share a little bit of it with you guys and do it that way. So, all right. So strategies for success in general. It's not HGTV. Okay, that's the biggest one. Who started their real estate journey or wanted to flip because they watched a bunch of flipping shows on TV? One? You're the only one that has the,
She's being honest.
has the balls to raise their hand. I like it. Okay.
There were no.
A lot of people watch these TV shows over the years and then decide that they should go flip because it's so easy. You just buy the house for $400, you put a shitload of money into it, and then you make a bunch of money at the end. It's great.
6 weeks.
Yes, in 6 weeks, right. No delays, nothing. Okay, so, but what you don't see is that you don't have an unlimited budget. You're not typically doing it in a very, a lot of times you're not doing it in something that's like a neighborhood that's going to sell like that. You don't have a multi-million-dollar TV network backing you on all your mistakes to make sure that the production hits the timeline that it needs to hit. Okay, so, and you're not your forever home, meaning that in general, you want to try and stay, within kind of like kind of going that a little bit more down here. You don't have to make every single house what you would want. Okay, remember you're trying to cast the biggest net on the amount of buyers. Okay, not necessarily just people like you. Okay, be thorough in your inspections. I'm going to go through some of these. I'm going to read these and I'm going to kind of go through some of these stories. So be thorough in your inspections. A lot of times, especially once you've been doing this a while, you may feel like you just kind of poke your head in and go, yeah, it's all right. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's some things lurking that you might want to take a better look at. Okay? Removing is cheaper than rebuilding. I'm going to go into this. Sorry. I keep forgetting I have slides coming after this. Removing is cheaper than rebuilding. SOWs keep everyone honest. Don't go exploring. Don't rush into a project to keep your crews busy. They can wait. Andy, is this a question or a comment?
What's a sow?
A SOW. Oh, it's a jargon flag. SOWs, scopes of work, agreements, things that are made before you start the job, before your contractors walk in. Okay? Keep everybody honest. I want to try and get as much stuff above board as possible. Don't go exploring. Don't rush into a project to keep your crews busy. I'm guilty of that one. They can wait. It's okay. Do your work you can be proud of, but I'll get into the but later. Pick a style and replicate it, and assume nothing. Okay? Anybody want to add anything to that?
Are you gonna go one over each one?
I am.
Who do you pick to get your inspections done?
Who do I pick to get my inspections done?
Contractors, or you have yourself? Well, it's not.
Me.
Is that a good deal? I mean, you have
Most of the time,
experience.
yeah, especially when it's a $30,000, oops. But yeah, no, I haven't had a $30,000 oops on it. Well, yeah, I guess I have one. So generally, I'm the one doing the inspections. Yeah, I'm not, and you need to learn how to do that. If you're paying an inspector every single time to go out and inspect it, and even if that's going to cost a lot of money and time, and two, you can hire 5 inspectors to get 5 different opinions. You know, so. All right, so let's talk about HGTV. I did a little bit already, okay? These are all the end game, or the end kitchens, okay? What do you notice in these kitchens? What was that? Granite countertops.
Different level of finishes.
Different level of finishes.
Too many.
Too many? Too many kitchens?
Too many cabinets.
Too many cabinets? Any others? Stainless steel appliances. These are all good observations.
Similar paint scheme.
Similar paint scheme. Yep. The biggest thing, and I know it's hard to tell in some of these pictures, all of these were done in the last like 4 years. Does that give you any more inclination on what I might be talking about?
Trending.
What was that, Ricardo?
Trending.
Trending?
What's changing?
All right, so I know it's kind of hard to tell, but if you look at the, where's my pointer?
Lighting.
If you look at this one especially, and this one especially, and that one too, all of these are nice, new-looking kitchens. Yes, do we agree?
Yeah.
Not a single one of those is brand new cabinets. Okay, every single kitchen in those pictures are all the existing cabinets. Especially this one up here, and why I brought attention to those is that, when was the last time you bought cabinets from Home Depot that had scallop bottoms? Or you put doors in and did your pulls at a diagonal. Okay.
Class, it's just class.
And then typically, you know, for a while when this was done, the darker cabinets are kind of coming back in. At the time when we did this kitchen, they were very out. Okay, so yes, they're all not new. The question was, what do they all have in common again? What they have in common is that none of them are new cabinets. Okay, so a lot of people, myself included, I've been there. A lot of people will instantly like, oh, you got to do new cabinets. Like, who's gonna buy a brand new house with old cabinets? Everybody thought that before? Okay. A lot of times you don't. Even these old cabinets, these old, you know, I mean, this one in the top left, those cabinets are probably 60 years old.
Probably 100% plywood, they're fine cabinets.
Yeah, they're great cabinets. Great cabinets. You know, some of the things you run into some of the problems with them, being that sometimes the hinges are a little odd. Some of the, you know, you have your doorknobs are in a weird spot, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, you can take old cabinets and make them look very nice, especially once you throw a quartz countertop on top of it and put new stainless steel appliances in it. And for the record, before anybody asks, I always do stainless, even in my mobile homes. Okay, it's the one thing that I spend the money on because I think it's, for me, I think it's the one that makes it pop the most. You could put, I don't get why people do these brand new kitchen countertops or brand new cabinets, brand new countertops, brand new everything, and then they put white, cheap appliances in. I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But, okay, but you can do it the opposite and elevate the kitchen but again, it's not HGTV. You don't have to have brand new. I don't think they've ever saved the cabinets on any flipping show I've ever seen. The first thing they do is gut the kitchen. So with a sledgehammer because it makes for good TV. Okay. Remember, what's on TV is not reality most of the time, even reality TV. Yes. Hang on, let's get you the mic.
Since labor is not cheap, how much do you save percentage-wise?
That's a great question.
We
So,
have-
yeah, since labor's not cheap, how much do you save by saving cabinets? Typically, for the most part, you are saving the cost of cabinets. Okay, so if you save your cabinets, they're probably going to be about the same labor as somebody would charge to install them, or similar. Okay. But you don't have to buy the cabinets, so you're going to save a couple $1,000s normally on the cabinets themselves. Okay, but like, and there's some variance here on if you're painting them correctly or not painting them correctly. Okay, and I don't really want to dive into paint at the moment.